So good morning. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Masoud. Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here to the first ideas meeting after the pandemic, in the first in-person ideas meeting. I couldn't think of anywhere better to celebrate than here at the Maroun Saman Faculty of Engineering and Architecture. Maroun Saman himself was a serial entrepreneur and was moving on from oil and gas development to sustainable energy when he unfortunately developed a brain tumor, which took his life all too quickly. But he retained a sense of optimism to his last days. And the reason he retained a sense of optimism was this university and the people that enrich it. And I want to talk about that a little bit and about the university. So at the risk of being called a pathological optimist, which is not the worst thing I've been called since I arrived here, I'm profoundly optimistic about the future of this university, and through this university, the country and the region that it serves. And that's not just talk. We've doubled down in the last few years. You may have heard we've launched AUB Online, which we hope by 2030 will have 30,000 annual discrete users each year. And here, rather than the traditional student population of 18 to 35, the idea is to get people from age 10, 12, like my good friend Gabir Bays, who was given the very bad advice, given that I'd known him when he was 10, that, maybe you won't get much more out of school and maybe you should enroll at university at age 11. I happen to think most of us are not ready for university at 11, but to have the ability to tie into our wonderful community for life, to present a proposition that's lifelong learning and a relationship is critical, I think, for the future of how universities will evolve. We're launching a new campus in Paphos this summer. The groundbreaking is actually set for June the 7th. The hope is that will grow eventually over a decade to a faculty of 2,500 students. It will have an engineering faculty of its own. That engineering faculty will also largely be focused on entrepreneurship and the creation of new ideas. And the big picture is we're doubling down here in Beirut, where we hope to continue to attract the best and the brightest, but to enhance the quality of life and certainly the compensation of our faculty and staff here. So that's one reason why I'm optimistic about the future. The other reason I'm optimistic are the folks in this audience. They've been able to create things, both the academics and the entrepreneurs and the academic entrepreneurs, that continue to give us hope in these challenging times. I mean, we are talking about an era where, and I read a paper in the Sunday Times, an article in the Sunday Times, about 42 to 44% of young Britons, millennials and Gen Z are leaving their job or have left their job in the last 18 months. People are increasingly choosing to define their purpose in life, as many of you have, as the 6 honorands have. But they are also under a degree of pressure and a type of pressure that's very different than the types of pressure that our generation dealt with, in that the privacy that happened in Beirut when the lights went out because the bombing took out the electricity during the war and you could only read by candlelight, that's gone because of these devices and because of the intrusive nature of social media and artificial intelligence. I'm not someone who believes that those are negative forces. Actually, I think they could be forces for the greater good. But how we deal with them is going to define who we are and how we evolve as a human species. What degree of compassion and understanding, what limits we set, and what chances we choose to take. And I believe many of those questions will be answered at the great universities, if the universities emerge from the ivory tower. For far too long, I've seen the universities stand back and let things happen to them. The elections of populist leaders across the world, right and left, the increasing gap in wealth and in opportunity that we're seeing across the globe, as the universities have continued to practice in a manner not too radically different than the ways they started when the priests ran them in the so-called darker Middle Ages. But I don't think we can afford to do that anymore. And I'm very proud to say that's not the way that the Maroun Samahan Faculty of Engineering or Architecture at the American University of Beirut think. We want to be out in society. We want to be out making a difference for people. We want to create new opportunities. So with that, I'm really looking forward to listening for a short while before I get pulled into other meetings. But I do want to end by congratulating Masoud, Alan, and all of you for putting on such an incredible conference, such a beacon of hope at a time when, particularly in this country, which continues to produce serial entrepreneurs, we need to work harder on connecting people to the opportunities that still exist here. Thank you very much.